Nothing I did was working. The more I tried, the more out of control my eating became. Then, I did something I hadn't tried before. I became a savvy detective and figured things out. If I can do it, so can you. Find out more at solveyouroutofcontroleating.com.
Hey there, welcome back to Solve Your Out of Control Eating, the podcast where we dive deep into emotional struggles behind eating habits. If you've ever felt like food has taken over your life, this is the place for real talk and insights to help you take back control. I'm Michelle Holtzberger, a clinical social worker, and joining me is the brilliant Victoria Todd, psychoanalyst and expert in eating disorders.
Thanks, Michelle. I don't know about the brilliant part, but I know that I am highly invested in my lambs, and I try very hard to help them. So if any of our listeners out there want to be part of the flock, you are more than welcome. What
Aw.
we do, what we do here is unpack the complex emotions that drive eating behaviors. We'll be talking about Laura today, who's navigating some serious challenges after losing her grandpa.
Yes, it's a powerful story, and we're going to look at how grief, avoidance, self-awareness, things that have happened in the past all play an important role. And whether you face similar struggles or you just want to understand more, stay tuned. You're going to hear a brief therapy session with Laura, and then Vicki and I will come back and debrief and share our insights.
My eating is completely out of control. It's semi-normal during the day, but at night, it's crazy. I can't stop eating all this junk food. I bet I've put on 10 pounds this week. I'm serious.
So what's going on?
Nothing. I mean, my grandfather's funeral is on Wednesday.
That's hardly nothing, Laura.
No, I'm fine with it. He lived a long life and he'd been sick for a while, so his death was no surprise.
That sounds like your head talking, but I want to hear from your heart.
He was a really good grandpa.
Oh, tell me about him.
He sold insurance, but that was his job. He taught me how to fish and to prepare what we caught. That was kind of nasty, but it sure tasted good. He taught me how to smoke meat too and make rhubarb pie. He had a big rhubarb patch in his yard, and he was a really good carpenter. Made stuff for my dollhouse and made our family a really nice stable for our nativity set. Oh, and he made these frames for my mom's raised flower beds. He never missed a swim meet. Him and my grandma were always there, and they would take me and my teammates to Truly's for burgers, even if we sucked. They always made us feel better. In the summer, they would take me and my friends to fairs and Cedar Point every August. That was so much fun. It had to be boring for them to watch us on rides, the Ferris wheel and roller coasters, but they did it anyway.
Sounds like they were very kind.
They were. My grandpa would listen to me ramble on endlessly about girl stuff. He had a real big nail bed, and he would let me paint them and put makeup on him when I wanted to play beauty shop.
What a sweet grandpa. He certainly invested in you.
Invested? Oh, yeah. He was real interested in me. I think he felt sorry for me because my parents were always working.
What about that, Laura?
They were always busy. My mom was a teacher, and my dad had lots of meetings. We didn't eat together or go to church or anything, but when I went to my grandpa's house, it was totally different. We always ate together, always. And we'd always say grace and go to church. We'd go out and cut down a real Christmas tree when my parents had a fake one. Fake like us. But my grandparents had a real one. And we'd ride around looking at Christmas lights, and my grandma would take me to see the Nutcracker every year. Grandpa wasn't too interested in that, but he would go with us to hear the symphony perform Christmas carols. And we'd decorate the tree with all the real old ornaments that I loved. And we'd make popcorn balls and Christmas cookies. Grandpa ate as many as he iced.
Sounds like you spent a lot of time with them.
Yes, till I was older and hanging out more with my friends. I'm feeling really sad now. Grandpa had Alzheimer's for a while and was really unreachable. I only saw glimpses of his old self, and it was really hard on my grandma to take care of him. I thought she was handling his death pretty well, but yesterday I made her some soup and took it by, and she was ironing all these beige shirts. They were hanging up everywhere. When I asked her about it, she said that my grandpa was so particular about his appearance when he was so young, so she wanted to make sure that his shirts matched the lining in the casket.
What do you make of that, Laura?
It kept her busy,
She kept busy, so
so she wouldn't feel so sad.
what about you, Laura? Is it possible you stayed busy eating?
So I wouldn't feel sad? Yeah, I just feel so sad right now.
Sounds like you were trying to avoid all these sad feelings. I know.
I guess, yeah. The sad is just too big for us both.
Welcome back. Well, let's break this down. Laura's got more going on than it would seem.
Exactly. And this is so typical, Michelle, of what I hear in my office. My patients come in, they tell me their eating has been completely out of control. But when I question them, they tell me nothing is going on in their life.
Right. So just like Laura says, oh, I'm fine,
Exactly. And a lot of times I will say to them, well, then let's back up to your last session and let's go through this and see what's been going on. In other words, they're telling me that this out of control behavior is meaningless, that it's not connected to anything, which I don't buy for 1 second. So I'm trying to help them make connections.
Well, that makes perfect sense because it doesn't take long for us to hear from Laura when she says that there was a funeral of one of the most important people in her entire life, right?
Exactly. But she even kind of negates that. She mentions grandpa's funeral in kind of an offhand way, you know, oh, nothing, no real big deal. He had been sick a while. We were all expecting it. No surprise here. But then when the therapist says to her, tell me about him, not only does she tell us about grandpa, but in the midst of all these wonderful memories, she tells us about her and her early life. So why don't we just go through some of it and see what we can find out about Laura?
Right, right. Well, I'll tell you what jumped out at me was how her parents were always busy, always working, and how the grandparents really took the parental nurturing role.
Exactly. I mean, they really seem to be, if when I was sitting there, I was thinking almost, what did the parents do? I mean, the grandparents certainly were the nurturer.
And like nurturing extraordinaire. I mean, the grandpa let her paint his nails, and they did so many cute things together. They had a lot
Exactly.
of rituals, traditions, a lot. I mean, it gave her all the meaning in her life, it seems like.
Exactly. So, Michelle, you're saying something so important there. Like, not only is she losing grandpa, but
Well, she's got the loss of the grandfather, but then at the same time, if she faces that loss, she's got to face the fact that the parents aren't there for her and the parents never were there. So, in my mind, it's kind of like she has a double grief here. She's got grieving over the grandpa and grieving over the family that she never had. And it's no wonder she's binging like crazy if she's got all that
exactly,
going on.
exactly. What really struck me was when she was talking about the difference in life at home and with the grandparents. You know, how they ate dinner together, how they went to church, how, even like the Christmas memories, they would go out and get a real tree, not a fake one like the parents put up.
Well, she said more than that, Vicky. She said fake like us. So
Yes,
on top of it all, when she did have connections with the parents, she must have felt that they were superficial, not filled with meaning. They were going through the motions,
right, detached.
attached, right?
And grandparents instead, they make popcorn balls, they ride around and look at Christmas lights. They get out the old ornaments that she loves so much. I mean, look what she's losing. And I wonder if part of her thinks, now it's grandpa, it's going to be grandma someday too. And then I'm going to be stuck with these two fakes.
Right. So it's important for her to be able to take these steps to look within and to go through the grieving process, not only just over her grandfather, but over loss of the family that she wished she would have had.
Exactly. And the another of the interesting parts is that here grandma in her grief is still helping Laura. Like, Laura makes the soup, takes it over, and there's grandma ironing all these beige shirts. And Laura's wondering, what on earth? Who wouldn't? And grandma says, oh, I'm remembering how fastidious he was when he was young. And I want the beige shirt to match the lining and the casket. I am so tuned into even details. I want everything just right for him.
Oh, I see where you're going. Yeah, that's how attentive the grandma is. And so she's
Right,
attentive to Laura, she's attentive to grandpa. That's a positive way of looking at it. I mean, the flip side of that is both Laura and Grandma are not facing their feelings, which
right,
at this stage in the loss is, if you look at the stages of grief, I mean, there's this denial phase that comes at some point, right? So they're just not facing it. And Laura comes in freaking out about the eating, and that's really what we're zeroing in on right now is if Laura were to look inward and look at all the feelings we just talked about, then she doesn't have to keep stuffing them down inside with food.
exactly, exactly.
Right.
But she makes the realization of what's going on first through grandma. This isn't making sense that this newly widowed woman is ironing all these beige shirts. And it makes her wonder, it makes her curious what's going on here. And then she connects grandma's staying busy so she doesn't have to face feelings.
Well, and I think that's the perfect segue because facing to getting curious is really what our listeners would need to do in order for them to start on being detectives in their own life and figuring things out.
That's right. That's right. And A lot of times, the reason people avoid facing feelings is because those feelings seem so big and overwhelming. I mean, you can let yourself know about some feelings, but the mind goes into self protective mode. And if it fears that it's going to be overwhelmed with big emotions, chances are it's not going to let you know about those emotions. And I think that's what was going on with Laura.
Definitely, definitely. And so, tips for those out there as far as actionable things they can do to help the feelings not be so overwhelming?
I think what you need to remember is that it, to face the feelings in what you and I, Michelle, call bearable bits. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. A little bit at a time, just a little bit at a time. And the other thing is to have, to seek therapy, to have somebody to confide in, to help somebody share it. A lot of times in my office, I will say to my patients, you've been living with these big feelings for a long, long time. And now I'm here. You don't have to be all alone with these big feelings. There's two of us. I can't even tell you how soothing that is to people.
Right,
So
to not be
if you're not
alone.
in therapy, then find someone a trusted friend, a minister, a priest, somebody who can help you kind of share the burden.
So, to wrap it up, remember, understanding your emotions is a journey and you don't have to do it alone. Keep exploring, keep asking, keep growing, and we'll be back again soon with another episode.
And in the meantime, keep searching for those clues and the connections.
Take care.